People of Reddit, what's the most NSFW thing you've witnessed in a public place? The other day I saw a homeless individual standing on the curb of the busiest street in my town. He faced away from the street, pulled off his pants, bent over, slapped his ass, and started violently shitting. He kept spanking his cheeks as he pooped, then my light turned green, thank God. A buddy and I watched a couple have sex on a picnic table at a public park. Kids were present. We called the cops, but he came fast. They didn't. I work for a nursing home company, and during one of my visits last year the administrator and I caught one of the CNA's 28F having vigorous sex with one of the residents' 70M. She got fired, but continued dating him and would come visit just to fuck in his room. He was alert and oriented, so it was completely consensual. Wasn't much we could do, still happening to this day, so I've heard. I've seen people fucking in public a bunch of times, but the worst such thing was seeing a drunk middle-aged woman jerking off a dude in a communal hot tub at an alternative lifestyle festival while I was on acid. Walking with colleagues through Redfern and Sydney late at night, going from our dinner venue to the pub. We literally had to step over two people who were having sex on the footpath. I was receiving head in my car and heard a bang. Dude in a mobility scooter was starting at us and crashed straight into my car. Was down in New Orleans at a conference. Walked into the bathroom and saw some dude jerking it. Not a homeless dude or some vagrant. He was wearing a suit. Saw cops kill a bank robber running away. He told the teller he had a bomb. He didn't. They left the body there for about an hour until bomb squad came. I read later that evening that he died at the hospital. Group sex. I was invited, but my partner and I are monogamous. Hedonism is one heck of a place. The main pool has a cave behind a waterfall. There were two couples enjoying one another's company in the cave. A swell dame performing fellatio on a fella on the middle of a bridge. We honked, he waved, she gave a thumbs up. Got to respect a woman that gives a highway hummer and hurls up a hand for a honk. The manager was caught by us when he was providing special care to one of the new female interns. He was escorted out the same day. Some people need to learn to lock doors. Does people taking a dump in the subway Philadelphia count? You can see pretty much anything on the Market Frankfurt line. Went to Seattle area for the day mid-90s. I'm just a dumb middle school kid. Happened to notice a very amorous couple in broad daylight on a very public beach with oodles of kids around. They went at it for the entire duration of lunch and hadn't stopped when we left. Somehow they were still clothed, but that was becoming less of the case as we were leaving. I was shopping and opened up Reddit and was surprised to see some guy's asshole on the main feed. So there's that, I guess. A very wasted woman straight up dick riding an arguably even more wasted finance bro, on a picnic table bench in the middle of an insanely large crowd of beer garden patrons outside of Stone Street Tavern, New York City, while doing bumps of coke off of the back of her hand. So, typical night on Stone Street. I once saw a woman have full-on diarrhea on a bus stop bench. There was literally shit everywhere on the bench, where other people are supposed to sit normally, and the smell was horrible. It was close to the hospital and I assumed maybe she was handicapped, but it was very terrible. Probably the tweaker I see sitting on the sidewalk every morning when she lotions up her vagina spread eagle in broad daylight. As a former criminal turned former homeless drug addict, I've seen some NSFW or life things. Probably that lotion routine takes the cake though. Good dancer though. She's got her robot down for sure. During South by Southwest, while walking down Red River, the wife and I heard a familiar noise. Turning around, we witnessed a woman standing on the hood of a car in a parking lot, wearing only a top and a cowboy hat, holding a dude's head in a one-legged scissor lock as he went to town eating at the Y. We watched for a few seconds, and noticed that no one else was noticing at all. I saw two people getting it on in a Walmart parking lot. Also, when I was a kid, as my parents were pulling out of the drive-thru at Wendy's, I saw a guy walking across the parking lot and pulled a gun out of his waistband. Later on the news it was reported there was a shootout there. I was 30 seconds away from seeing a gang war happen. The neighborhood drug dealers were having a barbecue out on the street a few summers ago. Didn't take long for one to get stabbed in the stomach, bleeding all over the place. Whole area was barricaded by police for a couple of days afterwards. Ah, the joys of living in London. Victory and was walking through the local arboretum when a naked man comes striding out of the bushes Bigfoot style, sees me and runs back into the wooded area. I just had a moment and kept waking, only later fully realizing what I just saw. A couple thought it would be funny to do the deed on the balcony. They just forgot they lived in front of an elementary school. So the whole school came out into the courtyard to watch them, and some students jumped over the school wall to try and watch closer. I watched a guy lean a collapsed ladder across a stairwell and prop it against the opposite wall to change a light fixture. I saw a guy who was about to get jumped by 3 guys outside of a bar pull a waffle hammer out of his truck box and proceed to beat them all in and around the head. Wouldn't feel safe seeing that at work. A man was masturbating on a bus in broad daylight where people had to get out of bus and catch the next bus. Bus driver told the guy to get out, but the guy refused and kept on masturbating. Police were called. Tie between a dead guy on the pavement at 7-Eleven, a man pissing into a Ziploc bag on a bus, 2 people with their hands down each other's pants in an alley, and a guy jacking off through his pants in a cafe. I think the one that probably takes the cake though is a bunch of dudes having a contest late at night at a pub. They were trying to see how many $1 coins would fit in their foreskins. I live in the Czech Republic, and true to the stereotype, I saw a porno being filmed 2 weeks ago in a fairly public place. Troubled woman that took the long step off the roof of a 35-story building. Took 3 body bags for the remains. I saw a girl squatting down and take a shit on the streets in broad daylight during traffic whilst singing the German anthem. I saw a grown man, butt-ass naked, taking a bath in the sink at a Vegas casino. I wish that memory stayed in Vegas. I was driving back from a date. Stop at a stoplight and look to my left to see a homeless man with his pants down, bent over with his butt facing me, shitting on the pavement. Stay classy LA. Walking home from work, turned the corner and there was a junkie in the middle of the street squatting taking a shit while stripping her hair out. My friend and I were in middle school and found a condom on the ground near a playground he lived by. We walked by it and hung out for a few minutes talking. We heard a lady scream and we were startled, so we turned around to look at what happened. The lady was apparently screaming at her toddler to put down the condom we found and walked by several minutes earlier. 2 homeless men fucking. Another guy masturbating at a gas station. One time I was riding my bike in town past this one guy and I smelled shit. I turned around to see the shit leave this guy's asshole. I love Sacramento. I saw a dildo laying by the roadside during my first visit to Las Vegas. Couldn't be too surprised though, considering it was Vegas. Worked in a nightclub and saw a girl being violently consensually fingered on the lounge when the lights came on. Definitely more than I bargained for that night. I saw a homeless woman masturbating aggressively at a bus stop with my mom driving me around. When I say aggressive, I mean aggressive. When I was little, my mom and I went to a clothing store and I wandered away to the fitting room. I opened a door and apparently there was a blonde woman completely naked and I was so disoriented, panicked and immediately apologized and then ran off. A couple had sex on a pool table in a college party. The couple's kid was present. It became known as the Red Beard incident, and I refused to elaborate on why. An older woman was standing around outside the Vatican naked from the waist down. She was just kind of loitering, her hair of both varieties seemed unkempt. And no one was paying her any mind. Saw my GF completely naked in a bush on campus having sex with me. I was also in the bush, but I didn't see myself. I saw 2 grown men butt naked trying to kill other with hammers in the middle of the street in broad daylight. I work maintenance at a golf course, saw a golfer take a shit under a tree on the 18th hole. Fucking hilarious. 2 naked dudes in San Francisco in the busiest part of town, like that's any surprise. Naked chick using a traffic light as a stripper pole in front of this restaurant my wife and I were eating at in town. Saw a dude shot dead when I was 9. My wife and I had sex on the beach once, which was public. That's about it. Someone snorting a fat rail off of the U-Bahn ticket validation machines in the Berlin. A lady of the night serviced him with her mouth. Did I mention this was the morning, weekday, busy station? I was on my way to work. Ah, Berlin. Ah, the U8. 2 people having sex at Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore. Middle of the day, lots of families small children around. The lifeguard wouldn't do anything about it, as they were completely covered by a sheet. I had a cooler full of ice cold it on them. And they tried to have me board from the park. LOL. I saw a 2.5-ton cargo truck run over a woman on a bike from my office window. He then tried to roll backwards because he wasn't sure what he hit and stopped on because her friend was shouting. A vagrant working it on the sidewalk, in the middle of the day, by a bus stop where people are getting the bus. No joke, a special education child came running out of nowhere. He pulled down his underwear and pants, throated at a man and pissed all over the place. I lived in a complex with a few buildings connected and my dog had to go do his business again and I took him out at like 11 in the evening, and when we were going back home, there were people having sex in the passage between 2 of the buildings that I had to walk through to get to the main entrance. crying face, crying face, crying face, crying face, just doing it up against the building wall. There was even a light shining on them. Was at a public beach, put my family's bags down on a lounge chair. I was around 10 or 11 back then. Turned around and saw a woman with her breasts out. Of course 10-year-old me turned around quickly, but yeah, was studying abroad in Germany during a goth festival. Walking around City Square, I saw a mostly naked woman wore some black leather around her waist walking around while a guy took photos of her. This was the busiest part of the day, and town square was filled with families and festival goers going about their business. Saw a man trying to cross 4 lanes traffic where the speed limit was 50. Got about halfway across when he got taken out and cartwheeled through the air a few times before landing on his head. The one time I'd visited London, I stepped out of St. Paul's Cathedral just in time to see an entire parade of naked bicyclists. The cyclists were followed by a short, fat, bald, and also naked man, who bore more than a passing resemblance to Winston Churchill, on rollerblades. It was quite surreal. Saw 2 homeless guys having a threesome with another drunk homeless lady just out in a children's park. Needless to say, they got arrested. This was at 2 p.m. a block down from an elementary school. Worst thing is they have continued to repeat this stupid act. I was sat in McDonald's eating once and overheard this couple on what I presume must have been a first date. I really enjoy anal. In fact, I have a butt plug in right now. See? She bent over to show him, and I can confirm, she did indeed have a butt plug in.